I'm going to say it's the pass rush. I think because the way the Bills can score, I think it comes down in many cases to getting a pass rush on.
We'll start with this question from Robin.
So there's still a damn good defense. I have zero problem with them bringing this guy in.
All right, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus channel presented by Connors and Ferris. Mike Catalana, I am Jenna Cottrell. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. We always appreciate it. All right, welcome to another episode of You Ask, We Answer, presented by Stellar Roofing, Windows, and Siding. Mike, first off, how you feeling? We were in Detroit, the Bills with the big win. What do you make of where this team is at right now on Tuesday?
That was the wildest back-to-back games I think I can ever remember in Bills history. And I lived through the comeback game and then was going to Pittsburgh and Miami. You know, you think about those playoff games way, way back in the day. But I've never seen anything like what we saw with the Rams game and the Lions game. Those kind of the craziness of all those points. And that Lions game was honestly as enjoyable as it probably gets for Bills fans, right? Because Josh was, I mean, just unreal in those games. I don't think you can play the position better than he's playing it right now, encompassing everything that it goes to be a quarterback. So it was wild. I got to tell you, I'm a little tired. And you were the one on the field doing the hard work, but I'm a little tired from those trips. That was a lot of football.
You did drive to and from Detroit. We did go back and forth to LA. Yeah, that's fair. It's funny, like being out and about in town, people were like, oh my gosh, like what was that like? It's pretty cool to see how hyped up a lot of Bills fans are, and just like the national conversation. We know that always shifts after a big game. And then the Josh Allen effect of the fact that the game Sunday against the Patriots being flexed into 425. Pretty cool. So we'll get a little extra sleep on Sunday.
Yes.
But all right, time for our first question from Jordan Smith, Q1R. After a win of the year against Detroit, any worry about a possible letdown performance this week against a divisional opponent?
Not necessarily a letdown, because they're going to be home. I think the crowd's going to be fired up because they want to see this team. Right? They've been away for a few weeks and they can't wait. And it's the Patriots. It's going to be really cold at the game. I don't think it's about letdown, like, oh, it's just the Patriots. I do think there's a tendency to be a little, I joked about us being tired, but a little emotionally drained after these games. I mean, I'm in the locker room after the game and we're talking to Dion, and you could tell Dion was just exhausted. You know, and even like mentally, if that week was so tough on them, but they handled it so well, you know, with basically one day of practice and then going out there and playing. So I wonder if it's just like getting all that done, getting that huge win. And then and I don't know if I'm describing a trap game, but I don't think it's as much. Does it make sense? I don't think it's as much about the opponent. I mean, we know the Patriots have not had a good year and are not that great of a team. I just think a little bit drained still with 3 games left to go in the regular season.
Like an emotional letdown spot.
Yeah, less about, because it would be easy to say, oh, you just went from playing the Lions to playing the Patriots. You could make the argument, certainly one of the best to one of the worst teams. Definitely. But I think it's more of just, you know, just a bit of like, it's been a lot. Everything has been a lot over those 2 games. And now it's back to being massive favorites at home against a division team that you don't really know anything about. I mean, they know more about them. Obviously, they're studying tape, but they've been basically irrelevant all year.
And I feel like for the Patriots fans, like they've really liked what they've seen of Drake May, rookie quarterback. There's going to be the ups and downs. From the outside, it appears that that team is playing for Drake May. But you look at some of the coaching stuff, and I just feel like for this team, you're right. It has been an emotional couple of weeks. You had the Niners win and the Snow Angels, and then the long trip to LA, and the Bills maybe not having as much urgency as expected, and the Rams playing essentially a perfect game, the Bills defense being called out. Then that Super Bowl preview, what is this game going to be like against the Lions? And obviously Josh Allen goes off. The defense gets tremendously banged up.
Yeah.
It's just, you're right. Like I could definitely see the reason I don't think it will be that is because of it being at home. If this was
Yeah.
another road game, I might actually feel a little bit guarded about how will this team come out. But I just think that where the team is at right now, they're going to need to take this week. And they will, to kind of just take a moment, take a breath. And the Bills only had like one practice last week. Maybe Sean McDermott. Maybe
Did you
Sean
see it in the
McDermott's
locker
like,
room?
what'd you
Did you
say?
see it in the locker room? I don't know if you saw the post-game speech, and Sean was pumping them up about, you guys did it with only one practice. And I don't know what exactly was said, but he was like, oh, no, 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 no. More like the guys are like, yeah, let's do that again. Let's have
Yeah.
no practice. I will say this defensively, the plus is they've gotten, it's basically lit up the last two games, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And reasons, not excuses, again, from this last game, because you saw it
Yeah.
out there in the field. I mean, it was backups to backups out there trying to stop the Lions. So maybe even some of those guys come back, but also the defense. Like they were happy that they got the win,
Yeah.
but like Taron Johnson's like, yeah, we played hard, we got off to a good start, but like we wanted to be better in the 2-minute drill. We wanted to be better when they were running
Yeah.
down the field. Like they haven't obviously not played their best with some extenuating circumstance. So I think the defense will be ready to go, and then you turn it over to
Well,
17. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, Josh Allen obviously has been playing out of his mind. So I wrote in the post game recap that the defense bounced back, and some people were hating on me for that. And I got a little bit annoyed because I was like, look, I get it. They gave up 42 points, but like you and me were out there at the end of the game. Like the
Yeah.
fact that Bagel Inspector was getting meaningful time. I think when I said bounce back, it was because the Bills knew that they had to keep the Lions off the board. They had to keep their run game as isolated as possible because of what that could do against you. And so the Bills offense was scoring points. And early in the game, the Bills defense was keeping the Lions 3 and out,
Yep.
3 and out, and 3 and out. And because of that, the Bills were able to get a lead on offense. And then the Lions had to, at moments, abandon the run because they were trailing in this game. So for all the
Yeah.
people like, you don't know what you're talking about. It's like the Bills were without their two starting safeties. They were without,
Starting corner.
starting corner. Matt Milano left throughout the game. Dorian Williams left throughout the game. Like, again, it felt like at moments there was you and me out there trying to stop one of the most impressive offenses in the
Yeah.
NFL and the NFC.
Good point. Especially early in the game, because they got the Lions off their script. No
Yeah.
question. You said it about the run game. They want to punish you in the run game. And I thought Babbage and McDermott, however it played out, were really good about bringing pressure, doing it on earlier downs. You know, the phrase, get them behind the sticks.
Yeah.
They did that. Christian Benford on a blitz.
Yeah. That
I
was
mean, obviously,
fantastic.
Ed Oliver.
Yeah.
What did Sean say
Yeah.
yesterday?
If you want to piss
You
him
guys,
off
yeah,
during the
go
week.
ahead. But it shows you that it's first of all, he's played well in Detroit. He likes playing in Detroit, but also, when a guy is just that extra bit against a top offensive line, he was, what did we talk about? A disruptor. So
Mhm.
early in the game, when the Bills built that lead, and you said it, not only were the Lions behind, like they abandoned everything. Their defense couldn't stop the Bills.
Yeah.
They made that bad decision on the onside kick. Like they were doing things out of character for them because the Bills, in part because of the good start for the defense, dictated the way that game was going to go.
Yeah. And this kind of leads into a question of from
Mhm.
Bella Rose 6218. How do you really feel about our defense going into the playoffs? I am concerned about the D letting the opponent scoring way too much and making it harder on Josh in the offense.
I mean, is there concern? Yeah. I still don't love the pass rush, though it was nice to see the ability for them to come back. I do think
Mhm.
Smoot helps out there on the field.
Yeah.
I'd love to see something from Von Miller. He had a couple of little flashes in the game, but
Yeah.
really nothing. When Ed Oliver's playing that way, it opens it up. Rousseau, everybody else, them bringing pressure. I do think if they get the group back out there, so now you're talking about both safeties, both corners, Taryn out there healthy, a pass rush. They have shown they really were bad in that Rams game. They got behind. The Rams were great. That game makes you nervous because that's not normally the Bills' defense. We were worried about the run defense. It wasn't great, but they made enough plays in this game to sort of take the Lions out of that. I do worry about that, and I know we're going to talk about some matchups, but I don't think Josh is going to have to score 40 every game to win. I think this defense will be better. Will they be great? I don't know, but they certainly will be better than we've seen.
I think so too. And I think the health is such a big piece of that. So waiting to see, what some of the injury designations long-term will be for some of these guys. That is obviously first and foremost. To be without so many starters is playing with one hand tied behind your back already. But in terms of confidence, Sean McDermott is a phenomenal defensive coordinator. I think that Bobby Babich has done a really good job this year. He's had some humble pie, and I think the entire Bills defense has throughout the season, but I do have confidence. Now, look, I think it's going to be, Josh Allen and the offense leading the way, but I think for this Bills defense, they have given up a lot of points these last couple of weeks. I think the injuries are a reason against the Lions, and I expect them to get healthier and to get prepared for the playoffs because, everyone knows it just gets ratcheted up so much more.
Yep.
But let's be real, like offenses in the NFL, like it is about scoring points, and you can have a great defense, but the NFL is set up for the offense, in favor of the offense. So
and I
also the game too.
I'm sorry. I also think that game was just that one, even maybe more than the Rams game. It was just the Bills were scoring so quickly, and the Lions, playing for 4 downs, going down the field.
Yeah.
It was like a high-scoring NBA game, and it's just like, you can try doing something, but they're just shooting threes nonstop. Like the Lions just kept going and going and going, and I think the Bills were trying to a bit of run the clock down with all the players they had out.
Yeah.
And the Lions just kept scoring, but then the Bills would go right down and score again.
It was crazy how fast the Bills were scoring.
I know.
You'd be like, oh.
Josh, slow it down a little bit. You already are the MVP. You don't need to score that quickly. Okay?
He wants that. He wants the chest pass.
That was so
He's going to try that in another game.
Isn't it so funny that his 2 signature plays in that game did not – because what'd they end up doing on that drive? He lost the chest pass.
It got called back, and then it got called back, and then there was a false start, I think.
Yeah, but they did score on that drive, right?
I think Bass ended up kicking a field goal.
Because they and then the other one was the throw to Keon, which was still incredible.
That was phenomenal.
And they don't score on that one.
Bass missed that one, Yeah. That throw.
Yeah, crazy.
that bleeping throw. Okay. So we have another defensive question. Adinashur from Mumbai, India. It's pretty cool. What do you think is more of a concern moving forward? Not having an efficient pass rush or run defense? Shout out from Mumbai, India. Go Bills.
Well, thank you for watching us in India. We appreciate it. I'm going to say, honestly, it's the pass rush. I think because the way the Bills can score, I think it comes down in many cases to getting a pass rush on Patrick Mahomes, Lamar. I mean, I know they can run the football, but, yes, you have to put players and put teams in that place. But I just feel like in the playoffs, it is going to come down to making a play with your pass rush to stop another team late. Whoever that happens to be, right? Because we don't know. The matchups are crazy right now. Everybody seems to be bunched all up in that spot. The Bills are in a very good spot for the 2 seed. Mm-hmm. So I start looking, we know what's going on with the Chiefs. I'm looking at the bottom going, who's that 7? There's a big game Thursday, right? Isn't it Denver and the Chargers? It's like, who knows how it's going to map out for the 7th seed? While the playoffs, could be
the way you
set
said
this
that
week.
was
I think my voice is, cracking.
yeah.
I think there's a chance the playoffs are upset, the teams. If I read that correctly, like there's a possibility there. It's with 2 weeks to go. Everybody knows, but it's a matter of how it plays out. I mean, it is kind of wild in both conferences where like Detroit and Minnesota could be ones or fives
That is
easily,
nuts.
both
Yeah.
of them. And, one could be a 14-3, and then you look in the AFC. Hey, Pittsburgh and Baltimore. I mean, right? This week is a massive game for those two to see who wins the division. So it depends.
That's
But
huge.
I
Yeah.
don't know what do you think? I mean, you've seen them when they're good against the run, make somebody quote one-dimensional. They're pretty good. I just think in the playoffs, maybe it's about pass rush.
No, I agree with that because I think like we talked about earlier, if you can get a lead on teams, they have to pass the ball. They can't really have the ability with the clock to run the ball as much. So I feel like, and let's be real, I feel like in moments you could say that the pass rushes let them down. And it's been, I think of like how Chris Jones was for the Chiefs was able to make one more play on Josh Allen in that playoff game last year, and how you were just wishing there was more disruption to Patrick Mahomes. And yeah, I mean, look, it was really nice to see the pass rush and Ed Oliver get after it against the Lions. But it's like, okay, that was awesome. That's important. You see how impactful that can be. But now it is getting close to the playoffs. We have seen the pass rush disappear in those big moments. So how do you continue to build off of the performance you had against the Lions?
I think back to, you guys used to joke that I would always find a way to mention the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. But in that game, they could not stop Tom Brady the entire day. I mean, Brady was absurd. He threw for 500 yards in the Super Bowl until they needed it.
Yes.
Needed it. And Brandon Graham had a strip sack. So
it's huge.
It was huge. It's one of the all-time great plays in the history of the franchise because that one play in a game you gave up 40 points basically sealed it because it was back and forth. And I think with the way this year is going with some of the teams, I think we could be seeing that in the playoffs, whether it's that high of scoring or not, where it's just at the end because of the quality of quarterback that we could be seeing in the playoffs that you're like, okay, let's see if we can get them, get a pick, get a stop, get them to throw an incompletion, whatever it happens to be, because you better believe that's what everybody's going to be trying to do against the Bills because they know they're not stopping Josh Allen. They need to stop him in a moment.
I do reserve the right to change it to the run defense if it's the Ravens.
Yeah, because they are.
Lamar doesn't scare me as much as a passer as the Ravens just running game in general.
Yes, Lamar is just sort of like Josh Allen in this way. It's not the run game, it's him running. That makes sense, right? It's like you got him, you don't got him. And he does it in a different way. Those two are just, it's just nutty how they impact a game so much that way. But yes, they have a pretty good running back there too. So yes, you are right.
Yeah.
In that game, we may be saying, oh yeah, this is a run game first.
Yeah. Matchup based, which actually this goes well into the next question. NFL Street Josh, who would you not want to play in the playoffs? Denver, Chargers, Bengals, or Dolphins? So Broncos, Chargers, Bengals that's interesting, or Dolphins.
I don't think the Bengals are going to make it.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
They do throw for a lot of yards, but that's not a particularly good team.
So let's adjust the question. So how about this? So I'll take the Texans are going to be division, but how about this? Who do you not want to see? Chargers, Broncos, Ravens, or Texans?
That's an easy one. It's the Ravens.
Yeah.
I mean, the Ravens are just like you said, it's a matchup thing with them. Their strengths play a bit to the Bills', I would say, weaknesses. I'm talking about their offense against the Bills' defense because they could just run it, and then Lamar pick his spots. The Texans are a good team. Their defense is pretty good. Stroud's played pretty well.
Yeah.
They're not a huge scoring team right now. They've been getting by more with their defense. Their defense has played pretty well. So I'm not as worried about them. They'd be coming to Buffalo, which I think is a huge plus
I
for the
agree.
Bills
Yep.
in that case. I don't think it bothers the Ravens that much, though they're really, as you know, they're really tough in Baltimore. But
Yes.
I think they can play in the cold. They
Especially at
can play
night.
in Buffalo. Yeah. Yeah, I would
So
say of those two.
who do you think the Bills fans should be rooting for on Saturday? Steelers, Ravens at 4:30 on Fox.
I guess I'd almost say you want to. Well, I'll put it to you this way: if the Ravens win, see, I always think of this, Jenna, with the playoffs. If you're the 2 seed, like the Bills were last year, you're guaranteed to play the 3 in the second round, unless obviously one of you loses.
Yeah.
So there's no messing around with that. It's 2's going to play 3. 1's going to play whoever survives. So you'd almost say to yourself, okay, that means you're thinking if the Bills are the 2, do they get the Ravens? Do they get the Texans? Is that their second matchup?
Yeah.
The other way you're thinking more about, because if the Ravens lose, they drop down again.
Yes.
They become a potential opponent. I guess they could finish as a 7 seed still, right?
I think so, yeah.
Right. So you say to yourself, "Oh, I don't want that."
So wins tiebreaker over Denver-based head-to-heads wins percentage. Okay, so it says for the Ravens. That's in terms of the 5-6 because Denver's right now the 6.
Yeah.
Baltimore at 9-5 going into this weekend.
They're 9-5. So if Pittsburgh were to win, Pittsburgh wins the division.
Yep.
So that means Pittsburgh is likely the 3 seed. Could still be the 2. The Bills would have to lose, but so then Pittsburgh's the 3. You want Baltimore maybe staying there at about 6 because that means Baltimore could be Kansas City's. If Kansas City wins the 1 and Baltimore wins, that's who Kansas City would get in the second round.
Yeah.
And I would think, just like the Bills, I think the Chiefs are thinking the Ravens of that group of teams because, Chargers have had a nice year. Bo Nix is a rookie. That's a pretty good team, but he's a rookie. It feels almost a little bit like 2019 Bills kind of team. We're coming around.
Yeah.
Quarterback
Head
is
of
playing
schedule,
well.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. And the Texans are good, but I think feel like they're more dangerous at home. They'd be going on the road. So when I think about those teams, it's still a lot. It's a lot to play out because those standings are wild in the AFC.
It really
close everybody is. Yeah.
It really is. Okay, for NFL Street Josh's question, between the Denver Broncos and the LA Chargers, who would you not want to see if you're the Bills in the playoffs?
Honestly, I'd probably say the Broncos only because
you don't want to see the Broncos.
Yeah, it just feels like I don't think the Chargers, I think he's done a really good job with that team. I don't think their defense is great. I think the numbers were high. I think they just got lit up this past week. Their offense has been okay. They run the ball a lot, which you could say doesn't play into the Bills' strength. I just do not see the LA Chargers walking into Buffalo and winning.
I completely agree.
And Sean Payton may not be the most popular guy in the NFL amongst NFL people, but he can coach. And there's no pressure on them. And, they're in Denver. They play in weather. They would walk in kind of a little wide-eyed, but okay, let's go beat Buffalo. I don't think they would. They got some dudes on that defense, though, too. I would much rather see the Chargers come out of the warm confines of LA and come to Buffalo, and they're a little ahead of schedule, I would say. LA is.
All right, Free House 11. Will the Chiefs lose twice in their next 3 games? Houston, at Pittsburgh, at Denver. Important caveats. Patrick Mahomes was said to be week to week with the high ankle sprain. The Chiefs play on Saturday, and then they
Wednesday.
Come back and play on Christmas Day.
I'm going to refer to him as Paul Pierce from now on. If you remember, Paul Pierce of the Celtics left the game in a wheelchair. Listen, Mahomes is a tough dude, so Chiefs fans, settle down. He's awesome, all-time great, Super Bowl champ, and all those things. And he does fight back from injuries pretty quickly, but every time he's hurt, it looks like surgery is going to be performed at halftime. And he's thin, he's running around.
Fair.
He came back. Maybe he's just a quick healer because he came back and he's like, if it's healing faster than one of his other one of his other injuries that was, they said week to week. Now, your point about how quickly those two games come up says something. And you wonder if they say to themselves, like, okay, if we lose to the Texans, maybe they try to get him on the field in that game. But they also have to be smart. I mean, look, they did come to Buffalo last year and win. The difference is it's home field and all that. It's also another week. Like if you feel like you get him out there and you win a game and you secure the number 1 seed, you buy yourself another week. So I think that's about as toughest stretch as you could hope for as a Bills fan. If you're a Bills fan watching and you're going, shoot, they got to play at Pittsburgh, especially depending on what Pittsburgh does.
Yeah.
And the Texans are certainly good enough to beat them.
Yeah.
And then at Denver, and that game could be very big for Denver. So I don't expect them to lose too. I expect we're going to find out he plays in the game on Saturday.
Oh, I would not be shocked.
Because
you're right. It's like Tyreek Hill looks like he pulls a hamstring on every run and then he's fine. Like
Mahomes has that limp down though.
Yeah.
He did. When you saw the way his ankle went, that did not look good. I do think he's made to withstand that. I know that sounds funny, but like he is,
like his bones are made of like they're like malleable.
Yeah, look, he's awesome. I mean, he's an awesome player, but sometimes it just automatically feels, oh, Mahomes is hurt. And then he's like on the sidelines. Remember when he went out of that playoff game and he was yelling at Andy Reid, which I got. Yeah. He wanted to play. Then they brought him in.
Chad Henne.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always somebody like that. Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, under the Andy Reid tutelage and sitting there, he'll be smarter and better. It's going to take Andy Reid to get the talent out of Carson Wentz and get the dummy out of him, because sometimes he just does some Carson Wentz things. I think Andy may get that out of him. I think he'd play smart. I think against a good opponent, they need a little bit more than just hand the ball off. Like their defense has been good. They were pretty good last week, but they don't look like last year's Chiefs defense at the moment. They don't look like it.
As a Philly guy, rooting for or against Carson Wentz if he does play?
Oh, it's like I'm so past that part of it. Like he went on with his career. He had a lot of issues there.
I just want her to be happy.
Yeah, I kind of look at it as, listen, he's on the Chiefs. So to be quite honest, I'm not sitting here, but, I kind of like seeing the Chiefs lose. I'm sick of them. I think it would really be something to see Carson Wentz. It is funny that he's in a spot of the opposite of what he was in 2017 when he was he was an MVP candidate, got hurt, and then Nick Foles took over. If Andy Reid had a sense of humor, he'd be on the phone with Nick Foles right now saying, come on to KC, come play for us. Carson Wentz would be out of his mind. Yeah. He's a talent. He is definitely a talent. He can make some plays, but I ain't worried about Carson Wentz if he were to be playing the Bills. And I don't think that's going to happen, but could he win these games? Absolutely. Could they step up? Could Andy get a game plan for him? Absolutely. So let's see, but you could
that was a very diplomatic answer.
Well, you could see Schefter in a couple of days going, there's growing optimism in Kansas City that he is risen and Patrick Mahomes is going to play.
Risen.
Well, we know we're going to see him in a lot of commercials. Oh my God. Dude, good for him, for Bank, but man, he is everywhere.
I also have, I really like Jason Kelce and his wife. I really like them. It's a bit oversaturated.
And she's now doing the pod?
Yeah. Like I really like them, but I have a little bit of Kelce fatigue.
Actually, because I haven't really listened to their podcast. I haven't heard much from the brother, from Travis.
Yeah, from Travis.
Jason's everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. And like I like him. There's times where I'm like, I need a minute.
Turn it down just a little.
Yeah. You know me, I don't like loud talkers. That's my pet peeve. I don't like, not that he talks loud, but there's just been a lot of.
He does sometimes talk loud. Like he does, a little bit of his bit. And I really like his wife too. Hopefully
I do too.
She has her one podcast and does it. Yeah.
Look at all these people trying to do podcasts. Who do they think they are?
Seriously.
Buffalo Plus.
Buffalo Plus Plus.
Buffalo Plus. All right. That'll do it for us. For Mike and I. Dan was back.
I want to mention on the pod, you will see on the channel, Dan did an interview with Mike Giardi. Yes. You guys probably, if you're a Bills fan, you know Mike. He covered the Bills for a while for NFL Network. Great reporter. He gives the unvarnished truth on the New England Patriots for this week in what they're talking about in Foxborough. Mike does not hold back on his opinions. He knows the Bills well, and he knows obviously what's been going on in Foxborough. So I think that comes out Wednesday morning, depending on when you're watching this. So you'll want to check that out. Mike Giardi. He'll be good. It's really good with he and Dan. So check that out. We
love Mike Giardi.
Yep, he's one of our guys. So
I was to say, and I feel like Bills fans will very much enjoy that podcast. And then we'll be back in Orchard Park on Wednesday. Thursday is our regular podcast. And also before, 2 things.
Go ahead.
1, if you are looking for a gift for your favorite Buffalo Plus viewer, be sure to check out the buffaloplusstore.com. Mugs have been very popular. The Dan is right, Dan is wrong is always a classic. That's actually been our bestseller of this last stretch.
Of course it is.
Yeah. But there's plenty of hats, shirts, all the magnets, stickers, whatever you or your loved one would enjoy.
And we are going to have another personal appearance coming up.
Yes.
In January, early January, right before the playoffs in the Rochester area. So we will be telling you more details. They're getting everything officially worked out. Right. So that's coming up right before the playoffs on an evening in Rochester. So we'd love to have you join us. We'll give you all those details shortly. But be thinking like the Thursday before the playoffs begin. How about that?
What great timing. Also, sorry, I didn't mean to get startled, but the mail person dropped off a package and I wasn't expecting it.
Oh.
So there's that. And a reminder, you can find us if you want to listen audio only, available wherever you find your podcasts at Buffalo Plus. Okay, cool. All right. Well, for Mike Catalana, I'm Jenna Cottrell. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share our favorite bit. You know you love it. All right. We'll be back for another episode of You Ask, We Answer, presented by Stellar Roofing, Windows, and Siding. But that's all the time for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching Buffalo Plus, presented by Connors and Ferris. We'll start with this question from Robin.
So there's still a damn good defense. I have zero problem with them bringing this guy in.